Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this part of the event. This is a part that I'm really looking forward to, and for a couple of reasons. So first of all, it's just fun to be here, but also it's really exciting because we're going to tell a bit about the strategy that we have as IMDC, but then also we're going to talk about the next step in that strategy. And we're not only going to talk about it, we're also going to unveil something. And we're not going to only unveil something, we also have a very special guest today. So I'm really looking forward to this session that we have today. And maybe to start, as a small introduction, who's on stage? Martijn van Wijngaarden, so that's a very Dutch name, Dutch guy, based in Amsterdam. And I know we're on a data center event. And actually, I'm the odd one out because I'm not a data center guy, I'm an energy guy, I have a background in energy. And I started my career at Nuon/Vattenfall. And I included a picture to prove that back in 2007. And also because I know there are some Nuon and Vattenfall colleagues in the room, so great to see you. After that, I joined Sunrock. At Sunrock, I was responsible for selling renewable energy of the renewable assets to utilities, but also to corporates. Now, IMDC was one of these corporates, so you can see how that relationship came to be. And since a year, I'm responsible at Iron Mountain for the 24/7 strategy that we have. Other than that, I'm a self-proclaimed energy nerd. I really love exploring the energy market. It's a beautiful puzzle, it's an efficient machine. And you can always explain what's going on today after a bit of puzzling. That doesn't mean that you have all the answers for the future because it's ever changing. So that's fascinating about it. Other than that, it's also one of the big challenges of this generation. The move from centralized fossil fuels to decentralized carbon-free energy. And I'm a chronic optimist about that future. I believe we will get there. And I think we will get there pretty soon. So in 20 years' time, having abundant, clean energy will be as normal as having fast internet on your phone today. And that's not going to happen by itself, so there are some challenges there. And that's the great thing about Iron Mountain. It's a company that's pushing that boundary and pushing that envelope to get further. Now, about Iron Mountain, this is actually a part of the story that I really love because it's one of these self-made stories that you hear a lot in the US. So it's a US company founded by a German immigrant. So German immigrant starts to decide to grow mushrooms. That's the start of the company, starting to grow mushrooms in a cave. And at some point, the cave depleted. Now, what do you do then? In his case, he decided to buy a door of a vault, essentially turning that cave into one big vault. And the first version of that business was actually storing art. So he would be storing paintings and storing recordings. And actually until today, you can still find, for example, the original recordings of the Beatles albums at that part of our business. Anyhow, whereas there was a lot of space left even after that. And then the company found out that actually companies and governments are storing a lot of documents. And that was the next chapter of this business, so storing paper documents worldwide. And of course, the world started changing. We started to digitize everything. And as a logical result, we started building data centers. And the same customers that trust us with their physical documents now trust us with their digital information. So that, in a nutshell, is 90 years of Iron Mountain. This slide, I was actually not sure if I should put it in here because I'm at a data center event, so I don't have to explain to you how this business works. But when I'm at an energy event or at a birthday, this is how I would explain it, right? So just like energy, it's an essential part of our infrastructure. So if you switch off the power of a country, you will have a country that doesn't function anymore. The same thing applies, of course, for data centers. So you need it for the government, you need it for your cat clips, you need it to prepare for an event like today. It's really intertwined into every part of our society. Now, the beautiful thing about the data center industry is that there is this dynamic where you as a customer, you try to use as little as possible. And as a data center operator, of course, you try to make this data center as efficient as possible. And by having this dynamic, the beautiful thing is that the energy needed per calculation gets lower and lower every day, every year. And we'll keep doing that. Now, what we have been doing on top of that is making sure that also the sustainability part is a huge part of our story for our customers. And this is a graph we like to share about that one, published about a year ago, where you can clearly see that INDC is recognized both for the sustainability part as the transparency of our business. And this is really important for our customers, so it's really important for us. But it's not the only thing that is driving us. A couple of other very valid reasons to do this is, first of all, the strategic angle. So you know that the energy landscape is changing, and you can either decide to have that happening to you, or you can be an active part of the solution. So we choose to be part of that solution. Another reason is to, of course, comply with regulations. I think everybody wants to do that in any country where you are present. And last but not least is to be a brand leader. So we're proud to be among the first to chase this 24/7 renewable strategy in this industry. If you take more of a closer look on the approach that we take there, a lot of it is about not using energy in the first place, right? So the most renewable thing that you can do before you start using energy is actually making sure that you don't need it. So there are a lot of topics that actually deal with this and that you can hear a lot about today when it comes to understanding how you can be more efficient, make sure that you use as little or no energy at all. And the reality is that at some point you do start using energy for your operation of your data center. Now, this is our approach when it comes to the energy that we use for our data center. So there's a bit of a logic or a hierarchy how we approach it. First and foremost, we prefer the energy that we need to be produced on site. That's the best case scenario. And that's not always easy, right? So in Amsterdam or in Singapore, you can imagine that it's hard to do this. But then we also have data centers in Arizona or Virginia, and there typically you have a lot of space. So that's part of the strategy. Then right after that, there's another option. And that other option is to actually contract renewables that are on the same national grid, but not on site. So these are the corporate PPAs, the direct agreements you make with the owner of a renewable asset. And the idea is that whenever the sun is shining or the wind is blowing, you use that energy and you match it with the consumption of your data center. Now, at some point, there is also a limit to what you can do there. But then, of course, there's still low carbon energy available on the grid. So that's the order of things, how we approach it. And if you think about that logic, what you can see is that actually there is a limitation when it comes to the physical space that you have available next to a data center. So the next best option is to start contracting renewable assets. And this is something that has been happening for a long time. And if you Google it, you can find information about many deals. And what's interesting about it is that, well, it's been going on for a long time. It still can be challenging to really pull this off. And if you want to know more about why this can be hard and what you can do about it, Jasper and Stroomkracht will have a session here at, I believe it's 2:30, where they can explain the details of these transactions and how to deal with it and how to de-risk it. So think about it. You have a data center, you have a bunch of renewable assets, and you start matching it on an hourly basis. So what will that look like? Well, we have an example. This is an example that we like to share of a UK data center. And what you see here is the entire year of consumption and the result of hourly matching. And the beautiful thing here is that The dark green parts, so the parts that are being met with actual renewable energy, are the vast majority of the consumption of the data center. So this is the part that works really well. This is also, to be honest, still an exception. It's quite hard to make sure that you have renewable energy matching your consumption every hour of every day. There's a good reason for that, because what do you think would happen if you have renewable assets powering your data center directly, but there is a moment when there's no wind and there's no sun? Well, that part is called in the energy industry the Dunkelflaute in good German. And that means moments when there is no sun and no wind. And that's a real limitation, because how can you get to 24/7 renewables when there are also moments when these renewables aren't available? For us, this has been a real challenge. And what we have done is try to make sure that we find an alternative energy source that can provide energy around the clock. Now, I've been kind of dropping hints over the last couple of days that I would be doing it. And I had two people today coming up to me telling, "Oh, you're going to announce your SMR, right? So a small modular reactor, a small nuclear power plant." They've been announced over the last couple of weeks by Amazon and a bunch of other companies. Actually, I have to disappoint you. What we're about to show you is not an SMR. And I'm totally fine with it, because this solution, you can actually touch it. And what I mean by that is not only that it's not nuclear, so it's not dangerous to touch it. I also mean it's a solution that's here today, that is really producing energy right now. That's how close we are. And we don't have to wait until next decade to do this. Now, I could tell a lot about it, but actually we prepared a video for you to show it. And that's on the next slide, so enjoy.
Today is a beautiful day for renewable energy and for data centers. Data centers are a remarkable efficient way to process data, and at the same time they're a significant consumer of energy. At Iron Mountain Data Centers, we are committed to using 100% renewable energy 24/7. Our goal is to power 25+ data centers across 3 continents with locally sourced renewable energy each and every hour of each and every day. Over the last couple of years, we've made significant progress integrating solar, wind and energy storage in the fuel mix to power our data centers. A very common question about 24/7 renewables is, what do you do these moments when there's no sun or no wind? That's the reason why we are really happy to announce this partnership with SeaCurrent. SeaCurrent developed a smart solution that allows you to use the currents of the sea to produce renewable, predictable and constant energy.
So the movement of the water is what we use with this kite that you can see behind me to extract energy from it. The wings in this kite capture the flow, and that accelerates the kite through the water, and that makes up for the fact that the kite will generate a traction force. And that traction force we use to generate electricity.
Currents of the sea are really predictable. So other than wind or solar, we know what's going to happen, and we know how much power to expect each and every hour.
So that's why there is a very nice match between what we can produce and what data centers need.
By mixing different sources of renewable energy, this allows us to get 24/7 actual renewable energy to power our data centers.
So we're looking at one kite here that we are testing at this test location. We're looking to improve this system and to be able to deploy in large farms.
And while the technology is impressive, we're just as proud of our innovative local-first strategy in this partnership, ensuring SeaCurrent also meets local energy demands.
If we look toward the future of energy, electrification is important. So we see heating becoming electric, we see ferries becoming electric in the near or more distant future. So we work together with the local municipality of Ameland and the local energy cooperative. So we're also looking to provide a substantial amount of the energy produced here to the island and to become self-sufficient in energy supply. As Seacurrent, our ambition is to make tidal kite a mainstream energy solution next to wind and solar within a decade. With the tidal kite that can work here near Ameland but can work in many other coastal regions and around islands, we can power households, we can power data centers, and we can power other consumers that need power continuously.
So I hope I surprised you a bit here, and I imagine there is a couple of questions out there, and because it's a new technology, and of course I could try to answer it, but I promise you a special guest, and here's a special guest that actually knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. So please welcome to stage Seacurrent's Maurits.
Thank you, Martijn. And it's great to be here. And what more is there to say? I would almost say the video showed quite some stuff already. I'm co-founder of Seacurrent. And when we founded Seacurrent, we recognized that the energy mix of a zero-emission future is still incomplete. And we believe that through innovation, we can really accelerate the energy transition and that we can create a clean energy, a modern world where energy is simply always available. And that's why we set out to develop this technology. And why tidal energy, it was also explained in the video, is very reliable. We can predict up to 100 years in the future at a certain time at the day what kind of power we can produce. And if you start with that as a source, that is very beneficial for a lot of consumers like data centers, but also the benefit is recognized on national levels. So the main differentiating factor from our technology is that we have a device that can capture a very large surface area, and that makes it possible to also deploy such systems in locations where the flow velocity is lower than the first generation tidal turbines. And this means that we can double the market in size. For the Netherlands, for example, you've seen our test site in the north, in a World Heritage area, where we have our own facility. But if we look a bit further throughout Europe, we see, for example, Ireland. And in Ireland, we can deploy 16,000 kites or power just as much energy as Ireland uses today. So there's a great potential to be developed. And yeah, we were happy that we found each other. And as Martijn said, it's not just a PowerPoint presentation, it's real. You can touch it. We follow a structured approach, and we've been in the water already for quite some years. So we just finalized our third sea trial. We are upgrading our kite for an operational demonstration, and we are preparing a first pilot project as a stepping stone for a first exploitation project by 2027. And this makes it very tangible solution also to become part of this energy mix. And tidal is not new, it's been around for quite some time. First generation technologies, maybe some of you know projects that are ongoing in UK, Wales, or in Scotland, where we have these hotspots where the flow velocity is very high. We are a second generation technology that also opens up milder circumstances and where the flow velocity is lower. And this means that also the EU is looking at this resource as a means to increase their energy security and to facilitate European technology and European supply chain. And this means that there's a new and very strong support for companies like us and others in the market to really start ramping up deployment. And this is not because they like us so much, but also because a lot of studies show that there is a lot of costs to be saved if you implement a very predictable renewable source in the energy mix. So that will help drive deployment. We anticipate that we can get a good market share, of course, and work towards 24/7 clean energy, and that's what fits so well in our collaboration. This shared vision and shared goal to work towards 24/7 clean energy. And also, we've been working in Ameland quite some time, and you see that the local first strategy results in a very high acceptance. The islanders really want this, local businesses really want this, but we also need partnerships such as with Iron Mountain to deploy projects at the scale that we need to make it feasible. So we're very happy that this came together. It was great pleasure to announce it today, and we're looking forward to the future.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we have one part left, and that is, of course, the Q&A. So, who wants to know more about the Tidal Kite, the strategy, or anything else about the technology of Maurits?
Well, the benefit of we know very much we know exactly how much storage we need. It's small, and we use it frequent. So we don't have to store intraday or seasonal, but we have a small capacity which we can calculate very exact, and then we use it very, very frequently. Yeah?
It's part of our energy mix. So what we're not going to do is say, you know what, all our power is now coming from the Tidal Kite. That's not the idea of this first project. So you have to imagine that right now for Amsterdam we have 4 PPAs in place. This will be the 5th PPA, and in size it's an equal part as the first 4, right? So it's basically just another part of our strategy, and it would be something that we're interested in scaling up. But what we would not do is just rely on one single source.
No, not particularly. No. The kite is quite large, as you've seen in the picture, and we even plan to scale it a bit in the next step. And yeah, indeed, something can get stuck, but the system is very strong. So seaweed is not. No. Yeah, there are 2 questions, and there was a question there. Yeah, of course. For the people that are not from the Netherlands, the Waddenzee is a Nature 2000 reserve and a World Heritage Site. So it's not easy to get a permit to test there. So we did indeed do a lot of study, impact analysis. We do a lot of monitoring. And in total, it took us less than a year to get the permit, and that is, sorry. Yeah, and I think it's also due to the fact that there's this high support for the development. So we have a few students or schoolers who researched how people feel about tidal energy on the islands and in the coastal region. And on the islands, 95% of the people are in favor of doing such a thing.
So, well, yeah, we would need another source, and this is part of the puzzle. It's part of the journey. And I think it's impressive because once again, if you compare it to SMRs, this is right now, right here, and So that really helps. So I believe in the future of the system. But for now, we would always mix it with different sources, correct? No. Yeah. No, I told you that I was an optimist. That's true. I'm not that optimistic that I believe that in 27 we will match on an hourly base. That's more for the decade after that.
Yeah, the speed of the kite is limited, so we know a lot about turbines and pumps in the Netherlands, especially because we're below sea level. So there's a lot of research on impact on fish and marine life. We stay below that threshold, so the operation of the kite is considered safe. We don't have fast-moving wingtip, so to say. If you look at the turbine, for example, and you increase the blade length, the tip of the wing goes tremendously fast, so we don't have that. It's stable. And we know how seals use the flow channels, for example, where we are located. And they mostly take it easy. They swim with the currents instead of against. And then they encounter also the part that stands still first, that makes a sound, and that alerts them and they can move away. And also the moving away part, the reaction speed is much higher than the speed that we fly at.
I believe we are out of time, but of course, Maurits and I will still be around for follow-up questions. And that means for now, thanks a lot for your attention.